Hey, how you doing? This is Bryce Stratton from Victims to Victors. So I'm going to tell my testimony, my story, and hopefully y'all get a little bit of something from it. So I'm 32 years old now, and I was born in Edmonton, Alberta, then moved to New Brunswick, other side of Canada. The reason was my mom was in an abusive relationship with my father, so it was probably the best situation to have that happen. And we always make decisions, and we never know what's going to happen later on down the road. But so I was, I grew up in New Brunswick, and everything was fine. I had my grandparents there, my aunties, my uncles, and my mom got together with a guy, which they've been together. Everything was good to go. Till this one day, I was 4 years old, and we're in Canada, so we had a lot of snow in the wintertime, and we had a lot of, I had a one-piece jumpsuit, and this one time I was like, hey, my mom went to work early that day, and I was still home with him or with my mom's boyfriend at the time to get ready to go to school, to daycare. And I was like, hey, I gotta go pee. He's like, hey man, I told you, put everything on and then go to the washroom, and so you don't have to do this. I'm like, I gotta go pee. He's like, all right. So he brought me inside, and it was like a little bungalow style house, so it was easy to get in. And we went to he brought me to the washroom, and I was like, hey, my mama showed me I could go to the washroom by myself now. And he's like, no, it's okay. I want to show you. I want to make sure your everything's so good, because I got all the snowsuit on. It's gonna take a while. So he unzipped everything to let everything go faster, which I thought. Then we came into the washroom together and said, hey, I gotta go pee, and he's like, no, we're gonna go pee together. I didn't understand that, but I had to go pee, and so in that time frame, he molested me. I don't want to go into all the details, but he molested me, and I had my snowsuit down to my ankles, and everything was outside. So after he was done pleasuring himself, we had a closet like right off the side. He threw me inside the closet, and the only way I can like explain that is like being just picked up like nothing. Like he just picked me up like I was just trash or something. It felt like that, at least. And he threw me inside the class, said, you better hurry up. And so I didn't really know what to think, so I was just getting my stuff on, and just felt weird. And he opened the door, and he's like, hey, don't tell your mom, don't worry, she won't ever believe you anyways, because you ain't nothing but a dirty nigger. And like at this stage in my life, I don't really put too much on words, it's more actions, but those things they stuck with me, later on in life, but I'll get to that. And so, that's that with me. I went to school, and everything was normal, I guess. And I came home because my mom would be home first, and I came home and everything was okay, and she gave me a hug, and everything was fine. And I went to play with my toys. I'm my only child, so I just went to play by myself with the toys. My mom was getting dinner done, and she was like, hey, no, it's so yeah, I was playing with my toys, and I came up and said, Mama, do you love me? And she's like, yeah, of course, I always love you. She always called me B. All right, my name's Bryce, so it works. She's like, I always love you, B. I'm like, all right. I went back, played with my toys, came back, and I was like, are you sure? She's like, yeah, I'm sure. Why? She's like, oh, nothing. I went back. I tried to turn to go away to play with my toys because I didn't want, I felt it was feel a little weird at that time. And she came up behind me. She touched my shoulder. She was like, hey, what's wrong? And I was just like, will you always love me? Like, I'll always love you. Why? What happened? What happened? And so I proceeded to tell her the story and explain to her what happened. And I had the most warmest, the best, like I couldn't explain, like the a hug that would just like take the pain away. You know, when you cry, you take the pain away. It was just so much, and to the point where I was trying to push it off because it hurt. You know, she was just holding on to me, and she said something that will always stick with me. She's like, it's me and you against the world. You know, and I'll never let that happen to you, Lord. I'll never let that happen to you again. And so, you know, that that always comforted me, you know, like I never, like, even as I grew up, I never put any like weight onto it because like my mom took care of me, she protected me, and she, well, after that, you know, you know, that guy was never in our life again, and so on and so forth. um we left that school because I got that area. I was the only black kid in New Brunswick in my class, and you know, I didn't like it. My mama didn't like it, so we moved to New Brunswick. I'm sure other situations were reasons why we moved, and so we moved up here, and I started getting around because everybody was around like me, and like we never brought up that situation again. Like it was a very open conversation I had with my mom. I could talk to her about anything, sexual, non-sexual, friends, all this stuff, and so I just, it wasn't a burden on me. You know what I mean? It wasn't something that I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta hold on me. It was like I told my mom, this guy said my mom won't believe me, my mom won't love me, she won't believe me, I'm just a nigger, whatever. But then, you know, it wasn't like that, and she did believe me, she did love me, and you know, we carried on. So I never really held on to that pain or hurt, I guess you can say. So I you know, I went to new schools, and I, you know, I met people that were in the same situation where, you know, they were abused, sexually abused as well in elementary school, and we became best friends. You know, me and Jade, best friends. She's like, she called me today, and I'll still love on her. She's my sister, man. And when you grow and you, different experiences show you and mold you and create you in a different way. So, but I was always very cautious around men, particularly white men, because that was the person that violated me. And so white men I wasn't really cool with. I wasn't really, I didn't trust them, I didn't like them, I didn't want to be around them. So the first couple of grades was great because my teachers were females and it was easier for me. My mom later on made the decision to put me on Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and I had a white big brother, and it was it was weird, but I trusted my mama because she helped me out the first time. It's my mama. Who else am I gonna trust? I don't got nothing else. So he was great. He helped me. They took me in. They were Christians. We went to church. Everything was great. And so going through life, I never really held on to that experience. You know, it was like I was a very loving home. I had great people around me, great support system, and you know, I, you know, grew and developed and got to grade 7, 8. I'm gonna say grade 7, and this one time a male was in the house, and he was drunk. He was, you know, I ran the bathroom because he was all twisted, and he picked me up on the counter, and he tried to violate me again. He said, "You know you won." He was trying to force himself on me and all this stuff, and I didn't know what to do. You know, my mom was knockout tired, and I didn't want to wake her, tell her, and so I got out that situation. I just ran out the bathroom, and I just started bawling and bawling and bawling. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to tell my mom because she really liked this guy, and at that time it was a thing, snitches get stitches. So I didn't want to tell nobody. I didn't want to be no like a punk. And so I just let that slide. I didn't really tell nobody. And then, you know, going through school, I didn't really care about it. I didn't really, you know, worry about it too much. And yeah, I put that one aside. I just let that slide off my back. My mom stopped talking to the guy, and just didn't talk about the situation ever really until I was mid 20s, 25, 24, 25, around there. And so went through high school. I went through I went through high school. Once I got out of high school, my dream was to be in the military. And so when I was going through writing the papers for the military, my girlfriend at the time, wife now, called me or texted me up and said, "Hey, you're gonna be a dad." So that military thing wasn't going on because September 11th have already passed and happened, and Canada was going into Afghanistan. And so I was like, I could go to war or I can be there for my child because I didn't have a father. I wanted to be there for my child. And so, but I didn't know what to do really. Like I was like just working a basic job and trying to hustle all the hours. I got this opportunity to work in a nightclub. Like I said before, you don't really know the what's going to happen down the road. I probably should have stayed in the warehouses and stuff, because once I went into the nightclubs, things changed. Things got a lot more real. I started seeing the different parts, of life, and and then this thing started creeping up on me. I was always a happy-go-lucky guy. I always want to have fun. I always want to be the life of the party, in a sense, just have a great time. But this anger and this rage that I just fight anybody. I didn't care who you were, how big you were, how tall you were, how tough you were. I don't care what area you repped. I didn't care. If you want to scrap, I'll get into it. I'm good. And so I kept getting into the clubs and stuff, working and working and working. Met amazing guys, two guys I'll never ever forget, ever. And we just rolled together. And regardless what I never had a brothers or sisters. So when I met these two individuals, bro, I I never, like, I was like, yeah, this is what it is to have brothers. This is what it is. Like, you can talk to them with anything. You can get down with anything. If anybody step to you, step to them. You're good to go. You got your brothers with you. And so I would put myself into a little bit more scary situation, a little bit more. Why? Because I had people knew I could call. I could. And I just kept going down and down and down the road that I would just keep smacking everybody into a club, a day, an hour, a minute. It doesn't matter. I'm hitting somebody. If I'm in a bar, if I'm in a club, I'm hitting somebody. I'm fighting somebody. And it was this rage that was built up so bad that I just didn't care about nobody. I didn't like nobody. I didn't want nobody around. I had a family. I had my girlfriend and my son at the time, soon to be daughter, and many daughters down the road. Um, but it was just this thing that would trigger in my head that I'm not going to get hurt again. I'm not going to be victimized again. I'm not going to be touched again. I'm not going to be violated ever. And so if it's not me, it's going to be you. And if I felt anybody that was on a path or looked at me in a way, I'd make sure I checked them, make sure they understood, like, hey, we could be cool, but you ain't going to be somebody above me or superior to me. We're going to get down if you need to. And so I kept going, got into after hours, which, is a whole new pile of worms, which anybody is in that place, and just got more violent and more violent. Opportunities came to me that were a promotion in a sense, but in the wrong direction. And I had one conversation with a guy. He was like, "Hey man, I got some work to do." And I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, just make some money, and just some people need a slip. And I was like, "Daggone it, how much?" Because again, at that time and in them places, I didn't care. The more I got into it, the more around that surroundings, the more I didn't care. I couldn't care about less about anything. And I had a family at home. I had a girlfriend that cared about and loved me, but like I just didn't care. And it's one thing that somebody else would care for you, but it's a whole nother thing when you don't care about yourself. And when you don't care about yourself, anything can happen. Some people get to drugs, cutting themselves and hurting themselves. Some people, you know, are violent, and that's the path I chose. I chose to be violent. And so I was almost gonna take that opportunity, but for something inside of me that I couldn't. I don't know why. Like everything that was lining up didn't happen, fell through. All this stuff. I asked too many questions, and in that life, people don't like asking questions too much, and it just didn't work out. And I was like, man, that would have been a great opportunity. Again, not thinking in a clear mind. And I just had so much rage. Somebody just had to get taken out. So my buddy, one of my friends, got me into a bar. I got kicked out of that bar because I fought too much. Got into another bar, kicked out of that bar because I fought too much. Got into another, so on and so forth. And I was getting kicked. I was the bouncer of the place, and I was fighting too much. And if you're paid to do that and you're doing it too much, there's an issue. So, work on. I met this guy in my building, in the same time frame. He's like, "Hey man, how's everything going?" And it was just weird because why are you smiling at me, and why are you happy with me, and why are you like trying to talk and joke with me and stuff? And he was like, "Hey man, everything's gonna be okay. We would just talk, 3 o'clock in the morning. I would specifically go on walks to avoid the guy. Not even trying to be around him, not even trying to talk to him, but for whatever reason, this guy was always walking out. I'm like, why are you still here? Like, what is wrong with this dude? He's just following me around everywhere. Something. He's like, man, come to church with me. I'm like, oh, you one of them people. I don't need church, man. He's like, bro, it's okay, just come to church just one time. I ain't going to church, bro. I'm trying to get paid. I'm trying to get money. Dude's like, just come over and over and over again. Again, at this time, I probably have four children at the time. And I was like, man, fine. If he comes to me again, I'm gonna try to avoid him. I'm gonna try to stop sliding. I'm trying to get away from like that. But if he comes, I'm gonna take him up on the offer. And he came again. He's like, "You want to come to church? We having the cookout. We having dinner." I'm like, I love me some food. You feel me? So, if I gotta go for food and I gotta hear a little Bible, I'll hear the Bible. Just let me go. He's like, "Oh, but it's gonna be a prayer thing." I'm like, "What that mean?" He's like, "Well, we're gonna eat, then we're gonna pray, then we're gonna eat, then we're gonna pray until we fall out and we just go to sleep." So there's a lot of food. There's a lot of food. I'm like, I'm there. So we went. I brought my one of my buddies with me, and we went to church. And I was like, boy, this is weird. It's weird. Went to church, and everybody's praying and singing and all this crazy stuff. I'm like, where the food at? He's like, it's coming. All right, cool. So we praying and we singing and hey. And again, I've been in the church cycle before. I've been to Christian Reformed churches. I've been to Seventh-day Adventist churches. And now I'm at this church, a non-denomination. And I was just like, man, I'm getting hungry. There is no food. I can't find no food. There's nothing here. I don't know why I'm here. And the dude's like, don't worry. And then for some reason, I got filled with the Spirit of God. And it was just the most weirdest, most beautiful. I don't even know how to explain it, quite frankly. It was just a burden was like lifted off of me. It was wild. It was wild. I don't even know how to explain it. Just honestly, like, it was a weight that was just instantly lifted off my shoulders after hours and hours of praying and worship. And I just felt at ease. And it was weird because I had this pain, this hurt for the longest time that I never like. It was just, I was just living with it. It was just like, hey, you got a bum ankle and you just learn to live with it. You just learn to live with it. And so I'm just like, man, this feels weird. Like, I feel good. I feel energized. I feel great. Right. And I was just like, man, this is amazing. So, life goes on, and I at that time I gave my life to God, Lord Jesus Christ. I accepted him as my Lord and Savior. And I was just like, man, I don't never want to do this. I don't want to go back and do this stuff again until I got hungry again. Until my kids were needed to eat some more, until the bills got paid needed to get paid, until all this stuff happened. I'm just like, I'm making like $1,200 a week, a day, sometimes $800 a day, like going to the clubs and working. I'm like, what job am I gonna get doing this stuff? Like, I'm making money, and food was always there and all this stuff. I'm like, why? How, when I'm in the world, I have money. I have a lot of money. Then I went to God. I had nothing. I was on welfare. I didn't, like, there wasn't a job that could pay me nearly as much as I was making. What am I doing? And so, as time went on, we kept going to church. Me and my girlfriend, my wife, well, now wife, kept going to church, and I was like, I don't know, man. Like, this praying and stuff is good, and this worshiping God is good, but bro, I need money. I need a lot of money. Like, I got family, I got diapers, all this stuff to pay. Like, why don't I? Why me going to church is good, but then I'm in a place that I don't really have money, and I need to do this and I need to do that. And there's nothing there. And I'm just like, man. So I slowly started building resentment for the body of Christ. Started building resentment for church. Started building resentment for God. Like, yo, how are you gonna do me like this? If I'm giving you my life and I'm giving my family to you, but then I don't have no money now. I'm broke. And I read this scripture one time. I believe it's in James or Jeremiah. Sorry, and it says, "Walk in your calling." And everybody's like, "Hey, Bryce, you could talk, you could speak, and people love you. You're very sociable, all this stuff." And I'm just like, "Great, but I need money." Carry on. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what to do. I need money. And that's all I could think about. Honestly, I didn't have nothing else. I just needed money. So on and so forth. I stopped going to church because, yeah, it was filling me spiritually, but my pockets were empty. My cabinets were empty. I didn't know what. So I kept going back. I went back to the clubs, went back in the same lifestyle. And me and my girlfriend, or I believe she was my wife at that point, we were like, man, I gotta start doing something to get back proper. So when I started getting at a job and start working, we get to this point where we get homeless, or we get an eviction notice because I fell through on some of the bills and stuff happens. I'm like, man, I'm praying, I'm trying to get back into church, I'm trying to do some good stuff, and now we going homeless. Like, how does this even work? Like, how does this even happen? And then, so we get homeless. I got 5 children's aid at my door, involved with children's aid for the last like 5 months, homeless with children that don't like approve of that. We cut children's aid off. And it was like we went in hotels after hotels. But this one day I was working this one club. I never forget this day. One day I was working this club, and I just threw this guy out, and I was so mad, so frustrated. And this guy comes up to me, he's like, "Hey man, how you doing? Fuck are you, bro?" He was like, "Ah man, I've seen you before, we've talked before, and bro, you work at clubs, there's a lot of people, you don't remember everybody." I was like, "What's up, man? How you doing? Just whatever." And I'm like, man, I just, for whatever reason, I just like, man, I need a job to make money, man. I just need to make money. And dude be like, "I got you." Who is you? What do I need to do? Like, what needs to happen? He's like, "Don't worry, just like drive around with me and do that." I'm like, "Huh?" He's like, "Just drive around with me." I was like, "No, no, 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 bro. I got a family. I can't just drive around with me because I just met you one time." He's like, "All right, cool. Take my number, and we'll talk." I'm just like, "All right." So someone a couple days later, I give him a call. I'm like, "Hey man, what's up?" He's like, "Hey, meet me here." So meet this hotel, and it was I even remember One King West. It's one of the top, like one of the big hotels in Toronto here. And he's like, and we're meeting. And he's talking about all this stuff. There's new people. I'm like meeting everybody. And he's like, hey man, we're gonna do this and this and this, and saying we're gonna do all this stuff. I'm like, I brought him aside. I'm like, bro, this is great, and I, hope you do well with this. But I need money. Like I can't just, walk around and stuff. And I realized this guy comes to tell me, he's like, all right, I'll pay you then. Huh? He's like, I'll just pay you. I'm like, what you mean? He's like, whatever you need, or just like I'll pay whatever you need. Bro. All right, cool. So he started paying me, I started messing with him, stopped the club, messing with him, driving around, going to this place, going to that place. And to make the extra money, I was working at Burrito Boys. Burrito Boys security. Now, I don't know why a burrito joint needs security outside that. It's right in the middle of the club district and it's open till like 3 in the morning. So right after all the clubs, that's where everybody goes. And so the first night I was fighting 6, 7 times easily in the first 2 hours. And I'm like, dang man, I'm fighting more here than anywhere else. Like this is crazy. And I blood covering me. I busted lip, black eyes. I'm there by myself. And this one guy is a homeless guy. I let him stay there because I knew what he was feeling like. Man, I knew what he was feeling like. And he was just sitting there and minding his own business. And the lady said, the manager of the place said, hey, he's got to go. It's like, man, can he stay? Can I tell him put him in the back corner? Because again, like I'm feeling him, man. Like I know, like I'm homeless too. Like I know with kids, like my kids in a hotel room with my wife, just sitting in the room, like bro, it's hard, hard, hard. And she's like, no, he's got to go. I'm like, all right, cool. So he had a burrito. I guess somebody blessed him with a burrito. So he got up and he got out of there. And this one guy is like, man, it sucks to be him. I'm like, yeah, it does. He's like, man, you don't know about that. I'm like, bro, I'm homeless right now. Like, legit. He's like, no, you're not. I'm like, bro, 100% I'm homeless right now. Like, this is my hotel key. This is where I'm staying. Like, bro, I have nowhere to go. I'm like, what do you do? He's like, I work on Bay Street. I'm like, we're in two different worlds. And I was just like down to the dumps. But he's like, one thing, he boosted my spirits. But he's like, one thing, I just feel like everything's going to be okay with you. Well, that's great that you feel like that because I sure as hell didn't. So whatever, 2 minutes later, the girl jumped on my back and then this guy, it was a shit show that night. But either way, I didn't even say my license was suspended. I had no insurance. I shouldn't be driving, but I'm driving downtown Toronto. I gotta do what I gotta do, man. And so that night, actually, I got pulled over by the cops and I explained to the cops everything. He said, cool, just drive over to this parking lot and just don't drive it again. Obviously, they knew I was going to drive, but I got a ticket for that either way. So I go home and I just kept saying this one thing in my head over and over and over. Step by step, day by day, have faith in the Lord and he'll guide your way. I said that a billion times, I swear, because that was the only thing I was holding me. The only thing was like, there's the only thing that was holding me. And so I made some phone calls to be like, hey, I need to get some work. This guy that I was messing with, he's like, hey, just keep coming up with me. So he kept giving us money, giving us stuff and being able to sustain us while we're in the hotels. Man, I've never been to this hotel before. It's called the King Edward. It's an amazing hotel, and we were in one of the best suites in that place. And this man let us. He paid for us. So it was like a week we were there. Everything my kids wanted: ice cream, candy, food, anything that we wanted. He paid for it, like with no question. One meal was $300. We would just buy. Order this, order this, order this, order this, order this. Like it was crazy. And he was like, "Cool, boom, boom, boom." I'm like, I don't know what happened, but thank God. But I kept saying step by step, day by day, have faith in the Lord, he'll guide your way. I just kept believing that, and just really believing that God's gonna provide a way somehow. And so I go and I go and I go. Every day it's harder and harder to leave. The kids don't want me to leave. We're stuck up in a room. It's a very stressful situation. And I get a call back and say, "Hey, meet me here. I got some work for you." So apparently, an individual owed some other people, and they wanted my assistance to obtain that money back. It was a mighty hefty bit of money. And so I was like, all right, cool. I can get it done. Show me everything good to go. So he showed me. I sat outside the guy's house for 24 hours. I saw his girlfriends. I seen his kids. I seen him. I seen his boys that were sent up the street of him. I seen everything. One of the last time I stayed there, I went in the back of my truck and I fell asleep. And for some reason, God showed me don't do it, because I was gonna do some reckless stuff. I promise you, some reckless stuff. And God, some reason, I just felt that I shouldn't do it, and I wanted to, because I would have got a hefty chunk of money in my pocket. I just don't do it. Like, what do you mean don't do it? Like, I need money. Like, I'm homeless. I don't got no place to go. I got nothing. Like, nobody can help me out. I got too big of a family. What am I supposed to do? Just don't do it. So I'm like, all right, cool. So we carry on. And so days go by. I'm just stressing. I don't know what's going on. We get a place. I'm like, man. I get another place. Like, wow, this thing. Like, I don't know. Like, within like let's say like 3 weeks of that, got a place. And it's like, sometimes you just gotta hold out on doing the right stuff, right? Like, you just gotta keep pressing on, keep pressing on, keep pressing on, because at the end of the day, everybody's got those two choices every single day of our life. You got that choice to do whatever it is that you got to do to get that food, or you do what you know is right. And sometimes, even though you want to do what's right, that other stuff seems so much easier and so much better. But it will it, it will pay off in the end. So we got a place, everything's good, but I'm still lost. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know any, like, I'm just like, yeah, we got a place, I got a job, I'm providing for my family, but like, there's something empty. So I was searching online, listen to podcasts, listen to this, listen to that, and this guy came across, and he's like, command ready, we're leadership development, all this stuff. I'm just like, leadership development. I need some leadership in my life. And this guy was an ex, or he is a current Marine, in the Marine Corps. And I'm just like, he might know something. So I bought his program, and I did one-on-one courses with him for a long time. The one thing that hit me in my head, he's like, yo, so what do you want to do? So I told him. He's like, how do you want to get there? So I told him. And he's like, how are you gonna do it? And in that course, it broke down something, and I was just like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna go about this. And so he's like, you got to get a job. You have to get a job. If you don't know which way you're gonna go, and you don't know the next step, you got to get a job to provide for yourself and your family. Your family will love you, and will not they still love you, but they'll get something from it, right? From you working, see daddy working all the time. And I'm like, man. And I realized something through going to work, through doing construction. I literally learned something that it was like the building blocks to what I needed to do. When I was 27, I stopped being afraid of closets because of my past situation. When I was in high school, I I I didn't even care about anything. I didn't care about anything. I was just going through. But after that, I started caring about things, because I just had so much love that I wanted to give, and it was just wow. And just taking these points in my life, and I was just like, wow, I learned this, and oh wow about this, and oh about this, and things were just starting to come together to the point where I'm at now, where I've essentially studied my own life and studied lives around me. So I'm like, you know what I want to do? I want an outlet for people, because some people didn't have a mother like I had that was able to hold them to, to make the pain go away. Some people didn't have that rock to go back to. Some people, don't know Jesus. Some people don't. And in the Bible it says, through our testimony, the word of our testimony, we'll have our victory. So what I want to do, and what I'm starting to do, is get people to share their testimony of where they've been through, what they've been through, and then how they came out of it. And the point of that is, we all have stories. We all have pain. We all, I was molested. I see my mom get beaten. Yeah, I've been homeless. I've done some criminal things. I've been to prison. And so this is my life. But yet I'm now, I'm a happily married husband, happily married man. I'm a father. I'm a friend. And I would like to think I'm a good role model. And it's to show people that, hey, you know what? We're all susceptible to pain and violence and hurt and defeat and being a victim in some part in our lives. But when we sit down and say, you know what, today is that day. Today is that day. I am not going to be a victim anymore. So today is that day that I'm going to make my choice. That choice to step forward in the right direction, to get that job, to go get my education back, to change my life, to get the development that I need. Through these stories of people that's been through atrocities in their lives, to the ways that they didn't let that experience hold them down, we can all see the light. We can all be guided through our pain, and have other people's stories and testimonies be able to guide us and say, hey, you know what, give us that hope in the darkest time. Give us that community to say, hey, you know what, you're not alone. I'm not the only guy in the world that's been molested. I'm not the only child that has seen his mother get beaten up. I'm not the only person that's been to prison. I'm not the only person that's been involved with a crime and criminal enterprises. I'm not the only one. So if I'm not the only one, then I have strength, because there's numbers. Again, when I was younger, I didn't have siblings. And then I had these brothers that I can stand with and march with going forward. I felt that I was like, hey, you know what? I can get through this. We all need that. We all need that help. We all need that guide and light to say, hey, you know what? You're not alone. So you know what? Thank you guys for listening to my testimony. Thank you guys for listening to my story. Hopefully you got something from it. So yeah, thank you again.